Yes, I get that. All right. There we are now recording. Hey, welcome everybody. So glad you could make it. Thanks for sharing in the chat there your favorite tech tool for lesson design. Saw a lot of people after my own heart there using Google Slides, and just in the conversation I was having there earlier, like I can't imagine building a lesson plan without it. Even in my head, I picture like this will be this slide, even if I don't have a presentation. It's just how it's how I think, I guess. But yeah, so welcome. All right, got a full plate today. Kind of end with a bang, kind of show you as many tools as we can with a very specific focus. So this is a repeat of last week, right? And I kind of called an audible Wednesday night before I was kind of warming up for this, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna switch things up a little, and it worked out real well. And so, quick story to start us off. So 18 years ago, like about this time, I had written my resignation letter, right? So this is my first year teaching, and I was hired the Friday before school started. I was handed a textbook, the old Holt textbook. Remember that one, right? The teacher edition. And no keys, and my computer wasn't set up, right? And so I was like bushy-eyed or like totally naive kid. Really, I was 22, and I looked over the textbook a little bit over the weekend, and man, I had expectations that were over here. Reality was like way down in the corner, right? And came in, did the best I could, and the staff at Highland did the best they could too to help support me too. So nothing against anybody, but this gig is tough, especially that first year, right? And so I discovered what a migraine was. I went to the doctor and was like, oh, I've got these headaches, and he was describing, he was like, what do you do for a living? And I was like, I'm a teacher. And he's like, oh, that's a migraine here. Just take some Advil, kind of thing. But anyway, so it was stressful. I don't need to tell you, right? Especially that first year. So I had my resignation letter all written, and my wife, who is also a new teacher this was her second year teaching, she had a year on me, and so she was like, just we're both like new to the career, we have rent to pay, you can't just quit your job right now, suck it up, man. And so we're like, all right, at least winter break, just wait up until then, right? And then winter break came, and that's just what I needed. I just needed a little bit of time to catch my breath, right? Never looked back since. It's been a dream job since. But that problem right there, right, is the time issue. We can't add time to hours to the day, but I hope the focus of the things I'm going to give you today, with one exception, are going to be ways to help you save time. All right, so that's kind of the focus of today. So our goal here, the success criteria are objective down at the bottom, right? The success criteria for today is, you'll know you got it if you can take at least one idea presented today and help you save some precious time. All right, so that's what I want to try to help you out with. All right. Okay, so thanks again for sharing your favorite tech tools there, and for indulging me in my little story here. But all right, let's move on. So the focus today is using AI as an educator, specifically for time-saving purposes. So that's the unique thing we're adding to it today, right? Shameless plugs here. This is the third in a series. The first two are up on YouTube already. Just kind of had some time last night, so I just threw them up there. So I expect part 3 will be up sometime tonight, and so those will be available to you for review, or if in case you care to relive our time together, you can find it there. And again, just to kind of focus on what it is that we're talking about, especially if this is the first time you're joining us, we're talking about generative AI, which is like autocomplete in your text messages and email. So it's it assumes what the next word will be, right? But it's on a supercomputer, right? All right. So that's what we're focusing on. So tools that mostly do that. They're predictive text. All right. And would be remiss if I don't give this warning, because none of these large language models were designed for children or with children in mind. Children use them, but the intended audience are adults. Reason for that is because where it gets the information is the internet, right? And the internet, as you know, is full of questionable things as well as like great things. There are filters in place to prevent students from being able to ask one of these large language models how to do something naughty, like, build a bomb or, I don't know, do something illegal. But they're not perfect, and they admit that, right? And so ChatGPT requires you to be at least 13. And if you're between the ages of 13 and 18, it requires you to have parent permission to use. And all that is that you check a box that says, yes, I have parent permission. And Google Bard is not available to us because the majority of our users are kids, right? And so anyway, so there's that. Yesterday's session, I had shared this. This is a clickable image here, and I'll take you to this guy's website, Soverel, I believe is how you say his name, but he has he's really big on using specifically ChatGPT for teaching, and so he came up with this infograph to kind of list ways to make any assignment resistant to ChatGPT, right? We went over some of those in session 2. And this is kind of a summary of the lessons we took from that. And so a couple of resources there in case you weren't there for session 2. You can click on those and they'll give you samples or ideas to address those different things, right? And we went over this specific assignment last time, all right? But this is why we're here, right? Uses in education, specifically to save time. How appropriate that school has a clock on it. I just noticed that. It's like I did that on purpose. Really didn't. But, all right. This is the one exception. So this is a cool thing I kind of figured out, right? And so in ChatGPT and Claude and Bard, they're conversations, right? And you can save each conversation and then use the conversation to keep going. So I had a conversation where it was my translating conversation. So I would go into it and type in a word or phrase, and it would translate it to Spanish or to English, right? Back and forth. And so so that was like the conversation, but I noticed that it didn't quite understand figurative language every time. And that's one of the problems with like Google Translate and even Microsoft Translate. Sometimes, it just doesn't understand. But then I started thinking, wait a minute, I can train this thing, right? And so I was playing with different prompts, after about 10-15 minutes, came up with this, and seems to be just the right prompt to have. So it's here for you to copy and paste and use, and I can show you, if you want to use it. But if you read it, it says, I would like to use this conversation to translate from English to Spanish, but please take into account figures of speech, idioms, and ensure that translated phrases make sense in Spanish, right? So let me show you the conversation, see what it ends up looking like. So there's my initial prompt there, right? And by the way, I just I like being polite to the robots. I just say please and thank you. But anyway, so it replied, right? And when you're polite to it, it's polite back. So I just kind of like that. So someone says, of course I can help you with that, and I'll do my best. And so I said, this test was a piece of cake, right? Literally translated, that doesn't really make sense, right? This is a slice of chocolate cream pie or something, right? That doesn't make sense. But here's why I was so impressed with it. Not only did it translate the phrase, knowing that I meant that this test is easy, it found a phrase in Spanish that also uses a like bakery idiom, right? Or a baked goods idiom. And so it kept the tone and the heart of the conversation, which I thought was, I was totally impressed by. So este examen fue pan comido. Literally in English, it means this test was bread I ate, a pastry I ate, right? So literally doesn't translate well, but back to English, but figuratively it means the exact same thing, and it even uses the same kind of metaphor there, right? Which I thought was like, whoa, that's really impressive. And then I thought, okay, let's try another weird English saying, right? Like cold turkey. So I tried to quit smoking, but I'm afraid to do so. Cold turkey. Did it again. There is no turkey or poultry idiom in Spanish, apparently, right? But the heart, the tone is very informal, and it's an idiom. And so I found another idiom that is very similar and gave it to me there. Pero me da miedo hacerlo de golpe, right? And I think that means like a punch, like do it out of a punch, like a sock, like being punched. So yeah, I was totally impressed by that. So now in my ChatGPT conversations, I have a conversation, and it named itself Traducción al Español. And, so now I can just type in a phrase I want translated literally, and it'll do that for me there. And so if you want to keep that in your back pocket, I think that's super helpful. All right. So this was the one thing that wasn't necessarily designed for time saving, though really, I think it can save us a lot of time, right? So the prompt is there if you want to copy and paste it and put it in your ChatGPT account if you're so inclined. So, but now let's look at creating activities to engage students with the content, or teacher time savers. So that's going to be the focus of what we're going to be looking at. Okay. So one cool, again, another prompt you can copy and paste. This one was written by Eric Kurtz. He's this ed tech guru guy. And so he had this whole conversation you can copy and paste and stuff. But so I decided to use a YouTube video, specifically a TED Ed video. If you're familiar with this one, you might be like, oh, a little narcissistic, are you, Rivas? So this was one I wrote the script for. But the reason I'm using that is because I wrote the script, so I know the content, right? So I could check the validity and accuracy and what it's pulling, right? And it's but I've done a lot of stuff on YouTube that's not as good because other people produced it, right? But it has a professionally put together script, not that I did, but I wrote it, and someone did that. And also I think TED Ed and like crash course videos and Khan Academy videos, those are like common types of videos that we all use in our work. And so so anyway, I settled on that one. That's why. Okay. So so I went into YouTube, found the video, and I'm going to ask ChatGPT to create a summary of the transcript of that video, right? And there's some very specific language there where you can plug in the information so that it's super accurate, right? Now, getting the transcript from a YouTube video is not super easy, so I just took some screenshots to kind of show you how to do it. So here's the video. It's playing, right? And if you click on the three little dots in the lower right-hand corner, it's right next to the download button. And if you have the puzzle extension. It's right next to that. So click on the 3 dots and then click on show transcript, and it'll show the transcript, but it's underneath. And it actually won't show the transcript. It shows a button that says show transcript. So that button pops up. So then you click that button and this transcript still doesn't show. All right, you have to go to the side. So you know where you get the extra videos to watch, or like that gets replaced with the transcript. And the idea there is you can click on a phrase and it'll skip to that part of the video. So in order to copy the transcript, you have to like click and hold the mouse and then drag it down to highlight the whole transcript. All right. Otherwise, if you just click in it, it'll skip to that part of the video. All right. So once you do that, you copy it and paste it into a conversation, and you can tell it to provide a summary of the transcript and things like that. So let's look at the whole conversation. Okay. All right. So so here's the prompt, right there, the transcript. Then I pasted the transcript, and then it gave me a summary, right? And I can verify it's a pretty good summary, right? And then I said, thanks. Can you create a study guide with questions that a student could answer while watching the video? The questions should appear in the order in which the content is presented in the video transcript. Again, I didn't write that prompt. That was from Eric Kurtz. So all these prompts are from him. And then it says, certainly, here you go. And there's my questions in order, categorized. I didn't ask for categories, but that's actually kind of nice. All right. And then I was like, oh, great. Can you give me the answers to those? Sure. Here you go. All right. Wow. Now there's answers. And then I'm like, now I'm just getting greedy. I'm like, can you put them together? List the questions and answers with direct quotes. And hey, sure. So then, there it is, all in one. Just kind of nice, right? Hope that can help you save some time. All right. If you want the prompts, I copied and pasted them on one slide, so they're just there for you, and you can copy and paste as you see fit. So time-saving tool, right? We often use these videos. Sometimes it's a good sub-plan, right? If we're not going to be around, so you can pull some questions and have them, have students watch the video, answer some questions, then have a discussion, or use the questions as discussions, etc. So, all right. So there's one. You could also do this with PDFs, right? Claude will let you use up to 5 PDFs in one conversation, or in one prompt rather. And so, so I took a article of the week from Kelly Gallagher. If you're familiar with that guy, he does this article of the week lesson to help his students know about current events. And for me, when I was teaching, that was my every Monday lesson, because somebody else wrote my lesson for me on Mondays, and it was usually a really good article. And so anyway, so I took one from I think it was last week. It was about NASA wanting to land on an asteroid, and grab some stuff and bring it back to Earth. That sounds so scary to me, but they're doing that. So there's the article. So I saved it as a PDF, uploaded it to Claude, and I can show you what it looks like live here. So here's our actual thing. So you just click on the little paper clip, and you add the attachment, and then you give it a prompt. So here I asked it to create depth of knowledge level 1 reading comprehension questions from that article, and it did that. And then I said, oh, how about some harder questions? And then can you give me a summary? What's the lexile of this? And Claude is actually supposed to be, it's programmed to be humble, and so it says like, oh, I'm not really great at this, but based on vocabulary, syntax, subject matter, etc., I'd say it's between 900 and 1100. And then I said, okay, can you write it at 700? And it did. So you can do lots of things with one attachment. You can do 5. I think earlier I just said 5 per prompt. I think it's 5 per conversation. So correct that. So you can do up to 5 PDFs per conversation. And this is with the free version of Claude. GPT-4, the paid version of ChatGPT, lets you do that also. All right. Okay, so let's get back to our slideshow here. So hopefully those are all ideas to save you time. But then guess what? You know how I made that prompt? You know, I prompt engineered that translating prompt. Well, people are spending lots and lots of time engineering specific prompts and then using the, you know, like ChatGPT and Claude and all the other ones, and embedding them into their products so that they can provide these things for us. So they're doing a lot of the prompt writing, right? And so they have these products that are made specifically for teachers, right? And so I wanted to walk you through a few of them. So I put them all on this one slide with a link to the actual site, along with a YouTube tutorial that I have found. That I didn't make them, but I found them to learn how to use them myself, and I think they're pithy yet comprehensive. And so that's there. So we're going to look at TWE, Almanac, and Magic School. So those 3 specific ones that kind of do a lot of the same things. All right. Oh, sure. Yeah. So Angela just asked for the slides. So they're in the chat. And then I'll follow up an email sometime tonight with, you know, with this too. So then you just have it. All right. Okay. So let's start with TWE. All right. So this one kind of blew me away. It was one of the first ones I saw. And so I just want to show you what this can do. There you go. All right, and so here are my latest things that I've tried doing. Notice I tried doing a bunch of things with things I you know, the video that I know. Also came up with a lesson on first aid for my health class. So what it does, it takes a video, YouTube video, and it can do all of these things that are on the screen. So it can create a script, so you don't need the transcript. It'll create the script. It'll listen and make a script for you, which is really cool. But it'll only do it in 5-minute increments. So that's there had to be a catch, right? But it'll also create questions based on the YouTube video. And again, it doesn't need the transcript for that. Also do summaries and warm-up discussions, which I thought was very helpful, right? But wait, there's more. It'll also do all this with text. So you can take written text, typed text, copy and paste it into TWE, and it'll do those same things, right? It'll also create multiple choice questions with answers, a dialogue based on any topic, you know, different kinds of specific activities. If you have a list of vocabulary terms for like your, you know, this week's unit or something like that, you can plug them in and it'll create activities to help students retain the vocabulary terms. And then it'll help with grammar exercises. It also has a listening mode, so you can have students record themselves reading, and it'll give them feedback, you know, things like that, and then some homework things. And so the limitations of this one. So lots of pros. I think you can think of like the pros. Some of the cons that I've noticed, it can be a little glitchy. I've tried it a few times, and then I just have to copy and paste it again, right? And then it works suddenly. So, you know, I don't know what the hiccups are there. And the other bummer is that it only works in 5-minute increments. But really, that's not that bad, because, you know, attention spans of students might be like about 5-minute videos, right? And so not too bad. Not too bad. This is a good one. All right. So that was TWE, and there's a link to it there. Also link to a tutorial on how to use it. Side note, Edpuzzle, and I'm not going to go into this one because I think it's kind of um, intuitive, especially if you're already using Edpuzzle. And so Edpuzzle, I remember thinking like, man, when I first saw Twee, man, if Edpuzzle could do this, that would save me a lot of time. And then Edpuzzle is like, hey, look, we can do this. But it does it a little better. It doesn't necessarily just use um, um, large language models to make original questions. It actually doesn't use original questions. It scours its database to look for questions on that video that other teachers have made, and based on popularity, it gives you options, right? And so it's a little more vetted, I guess, in that sense. And so the more popular the video is, so like a TED Ed or Crash Course or Khan Academy video, for instance, those will have lots of content that it can make for you. And so it's automated now. So. But and you can still make your own questions. So anyway, so there's that. You just have to click on the Teacher Assist button and you get all these options. All right. The next one I want to show you, it's called Almanac AI, and it's Almanac spelled that way. So let me go to this one. Oh, let me log in. So this one, this is a little corporate, right? It's out to I think it's private, and it's a product that you can pay money to get bigger, better things, but it has a lot of cool features here. So the biggest one is the tools button, right? So it's developing into its own LMS, I think, is where they're going with this. But the tools is the cool part about this, at least to me. So it has several things that it'll create for you based on content. So one of my most the ones that has impressed me the most is this one. It'll create a slide deck, especially because of our conversation, right? Like that's how I think in Microsoft PowerPoint and Google Slides. I think that's just the way my brain works, right? And so this I found very helpful. So I could take a piece of text, right? So if I have a lecture, let's say, all written up, or an explanation of something I want to present to students, a set of directions, and I've written it out, I can click on the little letter there and insert that text, and it'll create a Google Slide presentation based on what I've entered. Or maybe it's a website that I'm having students explore. I can put in the URL to the website, it reads it, and creates a Google Slide presentation of the content on that website, on that web page, I should say. Okay. Or I could upload a file, like maybe it's on a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word doc, or a PDF, right? Like maybe I still have my 13th generation photocopied, lesson thing from 12 years ago that still knocks it out of the park. Well, I can upload it, it reads it, and creates a slide presentation based on that, or from a YouTube video. So that's pretty cool. So let me show you how it, oh, actually I took some screenshots. Last time we went through this, I did this and it created all the content in French. I don't know why. So we won't do that. This one is a little glitchy, right? And I'm sure it's brand new, and so they're still working on some of the wrinkles there. But a couple of the other cool things it does, it'll create a project-based lesson based on content. So you could feed it content, feed it some, a lesson you already have, and it'll make it a project-based lesson using principles of PBL. It also has a bingo creator and a summarizing tools, and all these. Okay, so you're probably thinking like, those sound cool. Can we see it? Well, you can play with it, but there's a better one. So So here's what the Almanac Google slide presentation maker looks like. So I put in a link to that TED Ed video on tragedy, and it made this here, and I can click on it and share what the slide presentation looks like. It's a little funky, right? Like the image is a little off there. And then there were some AI generated images that our filters didn't really understand. And then there's this slide, like can't even read it, right? But I think, it's dark, because the subject matter is dark. I don't know. So it's not perfect, but it's a good starting point. Oh, wrong one. There you go. Let's share this page instead. But here's a better version, I think. All right. So magicschool.ai is like Almanac, but it has more. It's from how I've used it, it's much less glitchy, and it's free. And it's meant to be. There's no ask us about pricing button. So it's made for teachers. So it knows teachers. We like free, right? And so it did that. So let's take a look at this one. This one has a lot more features. So I've starred some of my favorites here, like a choice board generator based on UDL principles, right? So you can give it an assignment. You can even describe what the assignment is, or you could actually insert a document with the assignment, and it reads it, interprets it, and then creates a choice board on how students can show you that they have understood the content, right? Time saving, right? Also has a PBL generator, a science lab generator, which I haven't played with, but if any of the science teachers out there play with that, and if you want to let me know, what you think of it, thumbs up, thumbs down, or sideways, let me know. I'm really interested. The lesson plan generator is pretty good. It almost just like asking Claude or ChatGPT, like, can you write me a lesson on this topic with these kinds of activities? It's about the same kind of result. The only difference is that with ChatGPT, for instance, if you've ever tried that, it almost always involves a conversation where you say, okay, now can you make sure it has a clear objective? Can you add an exit ticket to this? This one kind of embeds that. So it kind of takes a basic lesson plan, and it understands that. So it creates your lessons with a it doesn't call it an arc, but like a warm up, some kind of direct instruction, some kind of activity, and an exit ticket. And then there's other refinements you can make, which is kind of cool. A way to spiral math problems and concepts. And anyway, so lots of other ones, and there's over 50 of them in this one. So you can explore those and save yourself some time. Here's one of my favorites, is the colleague song generator, because October's pretty tough, right? October's a tough time. So we're going to send last time I did this for Ben Jefferson, we're going to do one for Gary Allen today. All right. And I have a brief description of Mr. Allen here. Almost ready. Oh, I missed it. Let's see. He is. All right, there you go. All right, so he's tech savvy. He's an Air Force veteran. He likes fast cars. He speaks German, wants to narrow the digital gap, right? Maybe call it digital divide. There you go. Call that. And we want to use maybe not a Taylor. He's not actually a Taylor Swift fan, contrary to popular belief, but he does like Led Zeppelin. Let's see if I spelled Zeppelin right. Zeppelin. Is that right? Yeah. And he really likes Immigrant Song. All right, so this is live TV, folks. So I don't know if this is going to work or not. Oh, yeah, there it is. Ooh, from the halls of innovation, a legend is born. Gary Allen. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, all right. There it is. Yeah, so you can write, it writes a song in the style of, someone, and it's nice, right? So you can copy it and paste it and send it to a colleague. Let's all do that sometime in October. It's always nice to send something nice to a teacher in the month of October. I think it's a rough month, right? So, all right. So that is scratching the surface barely of what Magic School AI can do. This is a real fun, lots of fun things, lots of practical things in there too. All right. For the sake of time, we won't go through some of these. Okay. So other just ideas on how to use some of the features in large language models, specifically like ChatGPT and Claude and Bard. You can use it for instant feedback. Some of these, like Magic School and Almanac, have that feature. And I think someone in the text, I'm sorry, in the chat had mentioned that they use it for feedback, right? It's not perfect, but it's better than none at all, right? And it can save you some time. So you could ask your students to, hey, run it through, a large language model for grammatical checks, right? Anyway, and you can go through that. It'll write lesson plans. You can even feed it information like a core instructional model. Like I've tried using that, like write a lesson plan on this topic. It should take this long. And it should do this, this should be the outcome or something like that. And can you make it fit the core instructional model, and it'll do that for you, right? And if it's not quite what you want, you can have a conversation with it and say, oh, can you make it a little more simple? Or that seems a little easy. Can you up the rigor? And it understands teacher lingo too. So you can say, can you rewrite this at a, DOK level 3 or something like that. And it understands a lot of our acronyms, which is kind of cool. Showed you how to translate study help also. So you can tell it to, hey, I want to learn to play guitar. Can you give me a plan for, so that I can learn to play, X number of songs in the next 2 months or something like that. And it'll give you a plan, and then you can adjust it as needed. Or, hey, I have a biology test on Tuesday, or in 1 week. Can you give me a plan to study these concepts? So you can even copy and paste the information and put it in there. Claude, you can upload the study guide and ask it, hey, can you help me find a way to study this information so that I know it by next week? Give me a schedule, that kind of thing. So it'll create summaries also. ChatGPT 4, I think, will also speak to you. So it'll read stuff to you, if I remember correctly. But I'm cheap. I haven't used it. If you're into coding, if there are any AP Science or AP computer science teachers or computer science teachers out there, I've heard that it can be very helpful in that. Like I showed you earlier, you can adjust reading levels of things, right? Summarize documents, give you key points about a video. So maybe, that's a way you can save time. Like, that you want to find an engaging video on, the American Revolution. So you have a list of several videos, and you can take use AI to read it for you and give you summaries of each one. And then you can find the one that is, works best, watch it, confirm, and then have it make questions for you, or you make your own questions. But, whereas that could have taken hours, it can be done in minutes now, right? And it's still at your own comfort level. I would never say that any of these things are ways to help you be lazy, right? Because I don't think we're in it to make our lives easy in that way, but we would like to make our lives easy so we can continue to work hard, right? So anyway, so there's different ideas there on how to go through. Oh, the other one, the last one there, you could upload a document or copy and paste the document that you want students to read, and then tell it, hey, 10th grade English students at, whose average Lexile is, 750 are going to be reading this. What words are they going to struggle with? And I'll tell you, and then you can say, can you, change those to, make them more readable, or give you a list of the words so you can give it to the students ahead of time, that kind of thing. So a lot of fun, I think, time-saving things to help you do your job better. And then the teaching channel, I just had found this one. It just has like a list of 50 prompts that teachers might use on ChatGPT, and it has different ones, like anything from like a lot of the ones that I just shared with you, like write a lesson plan on this topic, to some professional things, and then some like teacher SEL things, like, hey, give me some motivation on why to continue, that kind of thing. And so, and everything in between. So it's some interesting prompts that you can find there, and that is hyperlinked right there. Yeah, Katie had mentioned there in the chat that makes it easier to work more efficiently, and that's kind of the goal here, right? We want to do more, and sometimes, I don't know about you, but the lesson planning sometimes for me was like a fun part of the job. Like, ooh, how can I make this fun for the students, right? This can help me do that faster. And I think if I can do that faster, I can come up with even better ideas myself, right? So that's that's absolutely. Another thing that I've seen a lot of teachers use this for is error analysis. So like I've said, these large language models are not perfect. They have mistakes. You could even build in mistakes into them, right? And so you can produce something with clear biases, or with flaws in logic, right? And give that to students and say, okay, where are the flaws in this? It can also create examples, and often we like saving the A+, gold star work from the past. I know I always did, right? And that would decorate my walls, and I would tell students, like, this is what you want to aspire to, like, right? This is a really great project. But something I started doing towards, later on, and I thought it was very helpful, is I would save a lot of the C level work as well. Because then I could show my students, like, hey, these are some of the mistakes that are common, right? Avoid these mistakes, right? And then thinking back, I was like, man, I wish I had more C-level work to show my students, like, avoid, these are the mistakes you may encounter. Let's try to avoid them, right? Well, ChatGPT can make you C-level work. You just have to tell it, like, hey, will you, here's a prompt, here's a project, can you give me examples of this? A really good example, a mid-level, and a really poorly made one. And you can even feed it a rubric and have it create examples based on a rubric. Obviously check it to make sure that it works, but that can save you time and help students, I think. All right. Like we've seen, it can create lessons as well as quizzes and rubrics with answer keys. Here's a sample lesson. Oh no, it's back here. All right, so I asked it to generate an engaging project-based lesson for a 9th grade health class about the topic of consent, because I was like, this is kind of a touchy subject. I want to get some ideas, and it gave me a decent idea with multi-day things, and then I had questions, so I had a conversation with it and said, hey, in day one above, can you generate 6 scenarios that involve, these situations? And then it did, and then I ended up not using this, but it helped give me an idea for something else to use, right? And so, again, just another way of using this. Eric Kurtz has this example of a debate. So he did the same debate with Claude, ChatGPT, and with Bard, and it was on how to pronounce GIF or GIF, whichever you prefer. And so and some of them they're pretty similar, but it's just an interesting idea. And so then I thought, oh, this could be a great assignment, actually. Like, have an interview with a fictional character, right? Or have an interview with a historical figure, or have an argument with like Benjamin Franklin or something like that. So you could tell ChatGPT that in this conversation you are Benjamin Franklin, and and then it'll say, okay, I'll do my best, and then you can say, like, I don't know, give it some kind of information and have like a debate, right? The website Poe is a collection of chatbots. So there might be someone who's already created the Benjamin Franklin chatbot, so you can search through them there, or you can make it yourself there. I know that there's my 2 favorites are the Talk Like a Pirate. So it's basically ChatGPT, but it only responds like a pirate. And the other one is a roast master, so it'll like insult you every time you talk to it. It'll still answer your question, but it'll make your feelings hurt, right? So here's a sample lesson I tried with incoming ninth grade health students. So we were going over body systems, and so we watched some videos, and I gave some some notes and stuff like that on each of the body systems, and they were supposed to take notes there. Then I had them come up with ways to explain this to a 5-year-old. Like, how would you explain that concept to a 5-year-old? And then this one was blank, but so I just added this for our clarity. Then they had to do the same thing, but they had to have an AI create the analogy for them. And then I had them reflect on it, like, hey, which one's better? So notice the concept here, right? I'm almost tricking students into studying, right? So I gave them the information a bit passively, where I was like, here's a video, or here's me talking, and you write things down. So that's passive. It's not really sticking there. Then I made them talk with one another about the stuff I gave them passively, because where else are they going to get it from, right? And so and then they tried to be able to explain. So they had to sort of dumb it down, right? So understand this concept in a way that they could explain it to someone much younger than them. And then they asked the robot to do the same thing for them. And then I was just curious, like, hey, who did a better job? Give you a couple of their there's one student's example there, and a couple of the reflections here. The first one was like, of course the robot did a way better job. It already knows all the information, but yeah, I see what you did there, that kind of thing. And then the other one was like, no, I think I did a good job, and it was somewhere in between. So most of the students were were one or the other in that sense. But it was a fun little experiment. I hope that inspires you to try something new. And if you do, let me know. And I really geek out about these kinds of things. All right. So we don't have time to go over all of these other ones, but these are some that I've encountered that are really helpful. Goblin tool breaks down any set of directions into digestible chunks or any information. So that's its primary job, is to break down things into digestible chunks. So if you have a complex set of directions for a project, you can put it in there and it'll break it down in different ways for you. Diffit is like, it specializes in leveling, like reading levels of things. right? Curipod is, well, it's like Nearpod without Nearpod. So you can give it information and it'll create Nearpod style activities to engage with the content. So it'll give you ideas on how to do, you know, like interactive activities with information you want to give to students, right? Pictory is an AI video generator, so it takes stock footage, like it has a large database of stock footage, and you can put in a script, feed it a script, and it'll create a film based on your script. EduAid is specifically a lesson planning tool. I haven't tried it, but someone shared it with me, so I like, you know, I'll share it with you. Same thing with Conquer, but that one is a assessment specialty one. QuestionWell specializes in writing essential questions and objectives and aligning multiple choice questions to those objectives. So again, it's very, very niche, right, in what it does. And Brisk just has a bunch of other things included there. So something that I think is very cool too is the immersive reader and the reading coach in Microsoft 360. If you go to it, you know, if you watch the session 1, kind of illustrated it, but Microsoft Word has this feature now where it'll read the document to you, and it's not a robotic sounding, it sounds very human. And the reading coach does the opposite. It listens to you reading, and it lets you know how well you did and what words you need to help, what words you need help pronouncing, and you know, things like that. So all right. So wanted to end just a little bit early. It's not super early, but give you some time to play with some of these, you know, before school starts. And then a couple of things here. There's the link to the feedback form here. So I'm going to put it in the chat. And just like, if you don't mind, I'll probably send an email with this, but let me know what was most helpful for you. So my part of why I wanted to do this was I'm going to be presenting at a conference, the NCTE conference on this topic. So I'm a panelist in a group, and this was my focus. And so I want to know what's most helpful. So let me know what was helpful, what maybe wasn't helpful. If you have any kind of feedback, I totally appreciate it. I'll probably send out an email asking for that. And so, you know, if you would be so kind, think about, and then just let me, you can just reply to the email, or you can put it in the chat here. But anyway, thank you so much, everyone. I've had a great time researching this and then presenting it, and just